Escape from Tarkov wiped, and I put a few hours into the game progressing to the flea market, which is where I want to explore my thoughts on the new patch for Escape from Tarkov, patch 14, and my general thoughts on the game moving forward. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Rectorol, and I've played an excessive amount of Tarkov in the past, but casually approach it for now. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I ended up being sick for the day of wipe, hence why I didn't live stream this time, as my throat just could not handle talking. My original plan for this wipe was to log in, check out a few new things, and log off. To my surprise, there was a new map. The recoil system felt smooth. We could vault now. The new hitbox and armor zones were added. Some quality of life changes. And we had new starter tasks for the first time in years. Let's dig into it though. I'll put some timestamps down below so you can skip around to general sections if you'd like. Let's start with the new map Ground Zero, which in my opinion was easy to learn, and I completed all the tasks except finding the machine gun without looking up guides. As a beginner-friendly map, I understand what they are going for, and the map does showcase almost all aspects of Tarkov you would need to learn. The buildings are intricate, with detailed environmental storytelling, many loot containers, and consistent loose loot. Relative to other maps, there are few AI scavs, and I've yet to see them swarm or do a horde event. Yes, there are traps, dead ends, and long sight lines for people to snipe, but that's part of learning Tarkov, being aware of your surroundings. Overall, the map's enjoyable, with a small mixture of PvP and PvE, but I can't see myself trying to scav main on it or playing much on it past the initial tasks. But like most Tarkov maps, player spawns, invisible walls, and scav spawns are sometimes irritating. When I say player spawns, this is an issue with adjacency of players spawning together. You can easily find yourself in forced PvP or trapped in under 10 seconds. For experienced players, spawning forklifts and factory would be a good comparison. The two worst spawns on Ground Zero in my opinion are in the northwest side parking garage attached to the Terror Group building, and if you spawn underground in the center of the map. Both of these spawns you can expect combat in under 10 seconds, regardless of you or the other players you're spawning next to aggression level. You will simply just be put into each other's faces. Invisible walls is self-explanatory, but if you humor me for those who don't understand, you're greeted by an invisible wall instead of natural barriers where you can kind of understand where the map starts and ends. Lighthouse has much worse invisible walls on the rocks though, but I haven't played that map this wipe to see if they've resolved that at all. I would really appreciate if BSG would stop us from moving in other ways as opposed to arbitrary invisible markers. There needs to be some kind of discouragement as they design on other maps, such as much as people might hate them, mines or just general blockades or sniper warnings. Regarding scav spawns, I'm speaking of players loading in as scavs within a few minutes of the raid starting. In contrast, I don't have a problem with early player scavs on specific maps, mainly Interchange and Streets. I think these two maps actually benefit a lot from having player scavs moving around quickly from the beginning. You know, that is a subjective feeling. The reason for that is that Interchange and Streets are supposed to be these places where large amounts of scavs are gathering, and so I would expect to have some player scavs creating that randomness and chaos. However, when you get into Ground Zero, in comparison with 45 minutes left as a scav, this feels problematic late wipe, and I could see it easily being a way to cheese farm some karma for guaranteed PMC firefights. It's a fun map, and if you haven't played it yet, I implore you to try to play it at least once without looking up guides or maps to experience Tarkov in a way that honestly can only be experienced once in a while. The idea of breaching and going into the unknown. Moving on to the new recoil system, I've seen some mixed reviews online. People are concerned with how laser beam most of the weapons feel now and how destructive modded weapons will be in the future. The recoil is objectively better as you are not as dependent upon leveling up your in-game skills to fire full auto. Ultimately though, only time will tell, and BSG has a history of overly tuning at the beginning of wipes, things like recoil, for better or worse. I'd rather have this current recoil system than what we've had in the last few wipes, and I predict that the recoil system will help balance sweats against newer casual players late wipe, as it shrinks the difference between an unmodded AK-74M with an unskilled player and a fully decked out 500 KM4 with somebody that has elite skills. But ultimately, until we are later into wipe with skills coming online, and optimized gun builds, I don't think any of us can make a fair assessment, including BSG. Vaulting. I was only aware this was coming in this patch once I read the patch notes while updating the game. Like all things Tarkov, vaulting is excellent until it suddenly isn't. Simple barriers like fences, boxes, or terrain ledges are easy to traverse and feel smooth and natural. It's not as fast as Call of Duty or BattleBit, but it's smooth nonetheless. Vaulting will change how a lot of fights are going to play out moving forward, and I've already noticed it changing it for me. Spots that were trick jumps or impossible to navigate having vaulting opportunities, allowing players to break out of previous dead ends. The bad part of vaulting is that there are some areas where you need to hit sweet spots to vault, which slows you down. I thought the lower windows on customs were not vaultable until I watched Pestily briefly struggle with a window before vaulting through it by finding the sweet spot. This needs addressing, and it will take some learning and failing to see what is a sweet spot to vault and what is not allowed. I don't have much to say about the new armor and hitbox zones. It has felt relatively unimportant to worry about during early wipe. I've seen some videos going into it trying to break the system down. I don't feel knowledgeable to discuss that from my perspective. I can see the potential in the future where you're established and playing Tarkov and not just progressing, but I'm having trouble with my playstyle imagining swapping plates in raid instead of insurance scamming for different armor or extracting from the raid and repairing, and until the flea market settles down and traders are unlocked to buy armor plates. As far as quality of life, certain things just feel smoother in the game. The interfaces go a lot faster, and this is stuff that kind of got added last wipe, but everything feels less clunky when it's working together. For example, the grouping mechanic is very smooth now. Before I noticed there was a bit of a delay sometimes. I really like the ability to left-right toggle between your shoulders, so you can now have your gun on your left shoulder to do left peeks. And then there's also the ability to swap between your overall stats, your PMC stats, your scav stats now, and the ability to view profile of people that kill you. You can see what kit they were wearing, kind of. Like you can get a visual of it at least. You can't really break down the kit itself. You can see if they're a PMC main, if they're a scav main, a Chad, a person with 24 hours, and, you know, level 30 already. The new tasks, I don't want to go into too much. I found them, with the exception of one, to be very easy, and that was just finding the Altios machine gun, mainly because it's trying to teach you vaulting to get around barbed wire. But I really love the Find the Mole one, and I've really enjoyed getting into some of the later tasks. They changed up some of the, like the acquaintance task for Jaeger. You now need noodles instead of just a lot of Iskras and Amelias. There's a lot of little changes to the tasks, and they do feel more structured and more balanced for progression. Let's be realistic. If you can find 5 croutons, you can find 10 croutons. It's just now, instead of it taking 2 raids, it takes 4 raids. I enjoy the fact that they've seemed to curb it down on some of the early tasks in terms of how much you need to be looting. And then, if you haven't been able to see it in the background from the video, snow. There's snow in the game. Don't know how long it's going to be here. Don't know if it's going to be a permanent thing, a seasonal event if we only get it in the winter. I'm enjoying it though. It's a bit PTSD inducing just because I've been trapped in a lot of snowstorms in my life. It's very immersive. I'm very happy about it. Anyways, I hope you're all having fun and enjoy yourselves out there in the new wipe. And let me know what your thoughts on the new patch are in the comments below. If you liked the video, consider liking it. If you think other people might benefit from hearing this information, feel free to share it with them, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.